Let's make my timber joiner quilt pattern using fat quarters. For today's video, I will be making the queen size quilt measuring at 96 inches by 96 inches. However, I will be providing measurements for both a queen and a twin size that will also measure at a 64 inch by 80 inch, giving you a few more options. This pattern is available though as a free PDF pattern in 5 quilt sizes: baby, throw, twin, queen, and king, which I will link down below in the video's description. For the fabrics, I am using Timber by Sweetwater for Moda Fabrics. This collection is pretty old at the time of this video, but since I am redoing my sewing room, I need to use up some of my older collections. Also, this fat quarter bundle is a little bit smaller, so I'll need to add to it. So I'll have 36 fat quarters for the queen size, and for the twin size, you will only need 20 fat quarters. But let's get started. With each fat quarter, subcut 2 3.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangles and 2 8.5 inch by 12.5 inch rectangles. Save this scrappy strip at the end, as my next video will show you what you can do with it so nothing goes to waste. Next, you will select 2 8.5 inch by 12.5 inch rectangles in different prints and sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, leaving you with a 12.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangle. You'll then subcut 5 2.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangles, rotate every other strip, creating a checkerboard-like layout, and now you'll go ahead and sew everything back together, leaving you with a 10.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangle. Lastly, select 2 3.5 inch by 16.5 inch rectangles in a different print and place them on the right and left side of your block and sew them together, leaving you with a jumbo quilt block measuring at 16.5 inch square. This pattern is quick, easy, and pretty simple for beginners to create, and all you have to do is repeat this step until you have 36 quilt blocks for the queen size or 20 quilt blocks for the twin size. Once all of your blocks are completed, for the layout, all you'll do is lay your blocks out side by side and rotate every other block 90 degrees. For the queen size, you'll lay your blocks out in a 6 by 6 block layout. For the twin size, you'll lay your blocks out in a 4 by 5 block layout. Then, as always, sew your blocks together to form rows. And lastly, sew your rows together to complete your quilt top. Here is what my quilt top looks like all finished. Stay till the end as I will have a photo laying across a bed. Now for the backing, I am using a wave texture forest yardage by Bernitex. Then for the thread choice, I'm going with glide threads in the color alloy. And here is what my quilt looks like all quilted out. For my Longarm quilters, I chose Forest Walk by My Creative Stitches, which I will link down below in the video's description. But once again, this pattern is available as a free PDF in 5 quilt sizes: baby, throw, twin, queen, and king. And I do hope you have enjoyed today's tutorial. If you could please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified for your next amazing quilt project.